Namaskar. A very warm welcome each one of you. I'm Sapna Sangra joining you from Jammu. And I have the pleasure of hosting one of the renowned, spectacular dancers of Bharatanatyam, Chitra Visweswaran. And she's joining me from Chennai. Along with her, we have enthusiastic volunteers. We have Damini joining from Bangalore. We have Dakshina joining us. I can also see Apurva joining us. I think Chitra ji, most welcome. And to let you know, I didn't have any meditation session today morning because I knew I'm going to have this 1 hour with you. So this is yeah, so this is going to be an extraordinary hour for all of us. And just to let you know, Chitraji, this time, as you know, we could not hold our convention at Kanpur due to the situation. And we, decided to go in for the online mode. And we got a wonderful response. We have more than 50,000 volunteers who registered us online. And I'm sure because they are joining us with their families. So I'm sure for them, for the beginners who just joined SPIC MACAY, who are on the, who are pursuing classical music and dance, for them, this is definitely going to be a treat.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. And to begin with and to set our discussion rolling, may I request Damini to introduce Chitraji. I mean, of course, she doesn't need an introduction, but if she can just briefly tell us something about her to our audience.
Thank you, Sapna ji. Namaskar and good morning to one and all present here. Dancer par excellence, Padma Shri Srimati Chitra Visweswaran is a world-renowned Bharatanatyam danseuses. She underwent rigorous training under the illustrious gurus Srimati T.A. Rajalakshmi and Varavur Sri B. Ramaya Pillai. She did her Arangetram, which is the first debut performance, within 10 months of training under Guru Srimati T.A. Rajalakshmi, choreographed her first piece at the age of 11, a child prodigy indeed. She has undergone a deep-rooted training in dance and music, covering Western ballet, Manipuri, Kathak, Rabindra Nritya, Rabindra Sangeet, Carnatic music and theatre. Chitraji, along with her husband, R. Visweswaran, founded the Chidambaram Academy of Performing Arts and has trained many dance aspirants across the globe. She has appeared in solo and presented at several prestigious venues and festivals across India and the globe, including the United Nations, UNESCO Paris, Festivals of India in the USA and USSR, the French Opera, amongst many others. She dons several hats as a scholar who has immensely contributed in dance research and revival of traditional pieces, as a composer, a lyricist who has composed pieces for dance and dance dramas. She also serves as a trustee and on expert committees of several government and private institutions. Chitraji has been honored with several awards nationally and internationally, including the prestigious Padma Shri conferred by the President of India, Central Sangeet Natak Academy Puraskar, Kalaimamani Award from the Tamil Nadu government, Nritya Chudamani from Krishna Gana Sabha, Natyakala Acharya from the Music Academy, Japan Foundation Award for Excellence, Nritya Ratnakara by Cleveland Tyagaraja Festival, Ashakala Bhushanam by Pujya Shri Swami Saraswati, to name a few. We are extremely happy to welcome Srimati Chitra Visweswaran ji, who is a personification of sadhana, grace, and finesse to this beautiful discussion today.
Chitraji, I think Damini could just go on. It's such a long list of accomplishments, isn't it?
Let's go on to the questions.
Yeah, so I think Chitraji, I'm intrigued after hearing Damini. Arangetram at such a tender age and within such a short span of time. So, I mean, I would be like interested to know, like, you know, of all the dance forms available, what is it that attracted you towards Bharatanatyam, and what does it take for a student to accomplish what you did at such a tender age?
Uh, well, I was probably too innocent to do all that analysis at that age, too naive and too much of a child. But I must say, I think my taking up Bharatanatyam seriously is probably because of my parents. See, we were first in England, and when we were in England, uh, Ram Gopal, the great Ram Gopal, refused to teach me because I was only 3, and instead he taught my mother. And I was taught Western classical ballet. Then we shifted to Kolkata, where I started learning Kathak and Manipuri and Rabindra Nritya. It was at that time when I was 10 that my mother heard of one of the uh, greatest Devadasis of Tirudai Mardur having settled in Kolkata. She was brought over there by the Tagore family, sent there by Ariyakudi Ramanuja Iyengar. She was the Prathama Shishya of the great Kuppaya Pillai of Rajarajeshwari Bharatanatyam Kala Mandir, Mumbai, Bombay in those days. So when they heard she was there, my mother was the first person who heard it. Then my parents decided to start classes for me in Bharatanatyam. I think this stems from the fact that when you are away from your direct roots and you are living elsewhere, in a bid to retain your culture and to give it was being in Kolkata away from Tamil Nadu was quite a distance. So Bharatanatyam, Carnatic music, going to Harikathas, all these were what kept us with our tradition and our parampara. And that is how I was put into Bharatanatyam. And after 10 months, I must tell you, it was after 8 months that my mother was called for by my guru. And she was told, I think we can do an arangetram for your daughter. It wasn't my parents asking, but my guru set the date for the arangetram. And it was then that my father got very worried. He said, you think this girl will do an arangetram? Even in a little performance for our railway club, we say, baby Chitra. It was like things like that those days. Baby Chitra will perform. But baby Chitra at the last moment always lets us down. Do you think she will let us down in the arangetram also? She was really worried. And in fact, there was a substitute organized, one of my friends, who would dance in case I decided I couldn't face the audience. But once the music started, I was totally with it, and I haven't looked back since then.
So
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I said such a beautiful entry. Yeah, you would like to go next?
It will be nice if you can share some instances on how you went about your initial training, because nowadays, in the era of smartphones and internet, for us it is very easy to get and capture information. Dancers generally take videos of practice and during classes so that they can remember later and do self-practice. And if you need to know information on any composition, with just one Google search, we can get thousands of answers. So how different was your training?
Very, very different indeed. And I think the key word is information. Because you have a lot of information, but are we able to put it through the sieve of discernment, of auchityam, of aesthetics, and get the essence of knowledge from it? See, the days have changed. Nobody has that sort of time that we spent with our gurus. It was, yes, definitely, the technological aids are there. I do understand that they can be very helpful, but I would use them just as memory aids, because there is nothing like learning face to face with your guru, because it's not just the item, the physicality of it that you learn, or just the intellectual background by researching about different poems, different sahitya, you read about it. So it's an intellectual quest. It is, you understand what emotion there is, you learn all the technicalities, and then you becomes a mental and an emotional discipline. But then this the spirit of it can happen only in transference in person. And I think that happened a lot for us, because more than learning the actual piece, the background against which it was composed, the personal sharing that was there. For instance, I'll never forget how a particular jati, which Rajalakshmi teacher taught me. We used to call her Rajalakshmi teacher. She's from the parampara, the traditional hereditary custodians of dance from that parampara. And she told me that this very beautiful jati, it was a very small one. And as a memory, I have retained that bit in a jati that I have worked. I have worked the preface of the jati and worked the body of it, and kept this at the end in memory and out of great respect for that tradition. She told me how they used to go from place to place for performance, usually wedding performances, temple performances. They used to go in the bullock cart, Matavandi. So while they were going in the Matavandi, Guru Kuppaya Pillai composed this jati and taught it to her. So, such a beautiful memory, that the transference. You may read about it. I may write about it, you may read about it. But I think when you face to face, your guru tells you that, it is such a transference. Again, with the great Varu Ramya was one of the greatest visionaries of Bharatanatyam. The way he would teach me, people would think, these people waste their time, but it's not that. There was far more depth in the teaching. See, he used to teach something, and then he would sit down at his puja and we'd be waiting. Then he'd just say, look out of the window. Or he'd say, while we were very few of us, just 2-3 of us studying with him at that time, and he would take us, give individual thrusts for each one of us. He would say, after a class, think, go home thinking. So, we youngsters, saucy, we used to say, Vadyarappa knows only one English word, think. And he tells us to think. But no, as you grow older, you realize how important it is, that introspection, that revisiting, that internalization. Everything together is meditation. We virtually used to meditate upon the piece. And we would not get item by item like that. This performance, we've done this Varnam. Next performance, you must do another Varnam. And there is so much peer pressure, societal pressure for youngsters, I think, from the sabhas and the organizers, don't do the same old thing. But you see, just realize you can bring freshness to the same piece when done again and again. And that is how our creativity was awakened by these great gurus. The time we spent over each piece, chewing the cud. Even normally, digestion starts in the mouth, not when after you swallow the food. But you need to chew the cud. You need to really take it into yourself. And I think that was a great blessing to be able to do that. And spending time with them, learning of their personal experiences. And you realize it has never been easy for artists when they share those experiences with you.
How beautifully put, Akka. So we were actually transported back into your childhood days. And we felt like we are also learning with you. So moving the discussion.
Thank you to SPIC MACAY, because it made me revisit so many instances from my past.
Sure. So one thing very interesting about your journey is the breadth of training that you have undergone in various genres of music and dance. Similarly, many students enroll for classes in dance, music, martial arts, fitness, instruments, etc. Can you tell us how this experience has shaped you as a student during your studying time, and then in your life, and now as an artist?
When you talk about the width of my training, the band, I almost thought for a moment, am I a jack of all trades? But no, that wasn't how it was, because it covered a period of time. At each period in my life, like for England, for instance, in England, it was I learned Western ballet, and from my mother, I learned the Rabindra Nritya style of dance and a little bit of Bharatanatyam. So, and then pre-Bharatanatyam, I learned Manipuri, Kathak, and Rabindra Nritya. Post coming into Bharatanatyam, I concentrated on Bharatanatyam and Rabindra Nritya, and very little on Rabindra Nritya comparatively. But since I'd already had quite a lot of background of it, and being in Kolkata, that was necessary. But I did learn Carnatic music. I did learn Rabindra Sangeet, and like most artists, good at one thing, you're good in most other art forms. I used to paint, I used to write poetry, and then my mother was in amateur theatre, so that is how I got into amateur theatre also. But it wasn't as though I did, nowadays I feel children are losing their childhood because you're rushing from tuition school to tuition class to party class to dance class to painting class to kickboxing to martial arts. Everything is being done at the same time. You should be able to have little time to internalize on what you are learning. So yes, it has been a very broad bandwidth that I have undergone and experienced, and I did find that study and experience of the cognate art forms have complemented my own dance. It is complemented. I didn't go from the inside of Bharatanatyam outside searching for your dance, but subconsciously it's there within you. So it just seeps into your dance and makes your dance what it is. And finally, your dance is what you are. It reflects what you are. So how did it help me in my studies? Well, as a dancer, you have to be very sharp. You have to think on your feet. You should know your mathematics. You should have presence of mind. Like they say, you actually at any point in time, you learn that you have to have a great presence of mind. Again, the lobes, the right lobe, the left lobe, which is something that is talked about everywhere today. Both the lobes are activated when you have dance and your education, dance or any art form. And I think because of that, you become that much sharper. You become that much quicker. There is so much, and as you want to know more and more, there is so much, you seek so much more at different levels. And I think it enriches you as a person. And I think definitely more time to dance and music. I wanted to finish everything in time so that I wouldn't bother and waste time which I could give for dance and music. That where my academics is concerned. When life is concerned, I think it teaches you to be a good competitor. It teaches you to be a good loser, because success is not all about winning. Success is also about learning to live, coexist, and hold hands, especially like in these these times of the pandemic, we all have to hold hands. We all have to support each other. It has taught me, well, besides the skills at various levels, it gives you, it, it has enabled me to understand people better, because characterization is something that we always play around. And even when we talk about the Ashtanayikas and Navarasas, these are ever relevant. It's just those words that put off people. But when you look at the essence of it, they are timeless. And you understand humanity better. You understand your colleagues better. You understand that you have to forever keep pushing up the bar. And I think it has taught me how to not to expect the same from everybody. Each person is his or her own self. So, and over and above everything, it has opened dance to me. Dance and music to me have been like a window which has opened out my mind to a larger culture, not just Indian culture, but culture the world over, because everything is finally interlinked at the very basics, and not maybe at the ultimate. Each culture has its own philosophy.
Wow, what we got was a zip-sized folder with abundance of moral values and lessons for us to take away. I'm sure we'd watch this video multiple times to kind of get the essence of what you've said. Very, very beautiful. Moving forward, there is a lot of emphasis on being a performer in Bharatanatyam. You very briefly touched upon how the sabhas keep expecting like about new dance pieces when it comes to the dancer and things like that. So you are not just a performer, but also a scholar. So can you share with us, or rather educate us, on what are all the associated fields of study in Bharatanatyam apart from the performing aspect?
The performing aspect, to me, is only one aspect of Bharatanatyam. There is so much more to it. If you need to be remembered even as a performer, there have to be various shades and levels to you. There should be depth. And how does this depth come about? What are the fields that are associated with it, which the cognate art forms, and what are the venues open to us? Not just venue as in performance space, but what can we think of doing besides performing, but still be associated with dance? See, the point is, you see, because dance is only thought of as, very often only thought of as performance, to me that's like exam orientation. Do we study because we want knowledge, or do we study because we want to score marks, do the exams well, and get good placement in your life, whatever? Just performance would be like an exam orientation, but there are the cognate art forms. Articular conference, I think it was 96, 97. 1 year, the theme then was, now it's being done, it's quite prevalent having this theme. Dance is an interdisciplinary activity. So you see, first of all, music. It is very directly associated with dance. So if you equip yourself with music, not just here, but here, very important. Because let me just go back to that experience with the gurus to refer to this. Because when you learn from the video or YouTube, it is a physical experience, and it can become just a physical memory. But you see, there is something much more important to the dancer, which is the body memory and the memories of the heart, which is what gives feeling to your dance. Now, even today, even if I'm sleeping, you wake me up and say, Chitra ka, I want to learn this particular piece. Can you just tell me what it is about? If you ask me like that, I can't. I would have probably totally forgotten it. If I want to revive it, I don't look at a book. I stand up and dance, because my muscle memory and body memory and the memories of in my heart, which have been awakened in me when I did that piece or choreographed it, come alive. So similarly, there are so many things with cognate art forms which enrich your dance. Now, music enriches you. You can also train, if you've got a good voice, to become a good dance musician. If you've got skills, rhythmic skills, you can be a good mridangist, you can be an instrumentalist, you can do natvangam. It's very important also to do natvangam for a dancer, because it improves your skills as a dancer. I found that, because I come from a parampara where Barura was known for the musicality of his natvangam, the cadences, the stresses, the ups and downs of sound, the musicality of it, very enchanting in his presentation. And I feel that is the spirit of his natvangam. So that would enrich your dance. It would also give you a career, a side career, because mind you, being a dancer has never been easy, because you've always had more expenses than what you earn, except for one very short span in your life when you are right at the top, because till such time you're struggling. After that, everybody is always asking you to do performances for charity. So you need to have additional skills. Besides these, you see, you can become a researcher. You can research. You can document. And today, lighting design and sound design play a very, very important part in performance. So you could specialize in that. Then there is, of course, dance, music, and the theatre arts are used for empowering children, adults, and adults with special needs. So that's yet one more step you could take. I think it's very important to empower oneself holistically, not only just to be aware, but to be deeply involved in the sense of making it your own and understanding it from here. A very good dancer has got the opportunities that they deserve. Okay? You have to be seen at the proper time, at the proper moment, by the proper people. There are so many brilliant dancers. Why artists? But they are not known as much as the well-known dancers. That is the quirkiness of fate. Having said that, it is a performing art. How can you tell a dancer, no, you shouldn't bother about performance, but you must dance for yourself in your dance studio or your drawing room or wherever. You must not have such desires. How can you say that to a youngster? A youngster is bound to want to dance. It's a performing art. But then it's not necessary to perform 30 days out of 31 in a month to be a performer. You can just do 4 exclusive performances. In our days, when we were young, performances were not so numerous. We used to have an average of, when we were in our teens, 4 performances a year. And the time between the performances was used to enhance the quality of our dance, enrich ourselves. And so there was a difference from performance to performance. There would be a growth. And with too much, see, the emphasis on learning goes down, the emphasis on seeking goes down, the emphasis just turns to presentation. And what happens if you are not lucky enough to be seen at the proper time by the proper people? You can become very bitter if you desire that sort of high flown career, you can be very disappointed. Why? When you're young, see, you have to realize at every stage in your life you need to let go. You see, and you'll never be a frustrated dancer if you have knowledge of all these other cognate art forms. And you can, as I said, I left out two important things. You can become a good choreographer, you can become and her dance, or his dance per se. Oh, so many cognate art forms.
Chitra, I think with each line that you've spoken, there is a message, there's a value. I mean, that is the sense that I'm getting, and I feel that no book, no Google site, and nothing can give us this knowledge that you are giving us, because this can only come from somebody who's given a life to this kind of art form. So, Chitraji, as you said, there are challenges involved. Do you think that it is deterring our present generation to take up this kind of disciplined art form? Are they scared? If at all, what is your message to them, like how to overcome? And if they are determined, they must take up this. Otherwise, in times to come, we might just lose all of this wealth that we have.
I think this discipline, which is a fivefold discipline, begins by being physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, and at its best, spiritual. See, it is something which I think discipline is very necessary for success in any walk in life. And this disciplines you at so many levels. So I do think it's the unique heritage of our country. How many countries have 8 classical dance forms? How many countries? Even if they have one classical ballet, they're lucky. But here we have so many classical dance forms, we have so many folk dance forms, traditional dance forms. I think these are what we are. When you're young, you may not realize it, but I think we all need to support these youngsters who want to go into it. Begins with support at home, support from the teachers, the gurus, society, friends. Hold their hand when they are when they are feeling down, because yes, it's not as though everything will be hunky dory, but then when the fruit is plucked finally, it is that much more sweet. So I think if you want to understand yourself, and I think this journey in SPIC MACAY is all about you're even beginning on the journey of wanting to know yourself and finally becoming. So it can be discouraging, but I don't think one should get discouraged. For instance, I'm sure you will ask me what can they do in this pandemic? We don't even know what the future of dance is. Well, why the future of dance? No one knows what anybody's future is. It's not just the dancer, it's just not the musician, it's everybody. They don't know, even the big corporates don't know where they're going, what is the future. But, it's like a hiatus. So often we do have a hiatus in our lives, personal issues which make you keep away from dance. I'm just referring to dance because that is what we are talking about today, and that has kept you away from it. But then it is the strength that dance has given you that keeps you going. So it's not as though everything is over. It's just we need to revisit and reinvent ourselves. Okay, for instance, let me give a very simple example. Now, we have all been trained to dance on stage. The approach to even the treatment of space is so different from stage to stage. You're on one of an Elizabethan stage, or you're on a rectangular stage, or you're on a box-like stage, or you're a proscenium stage, or you're an open space. The use of space has to differ from one space to the other. Now you are in virtual space. The virtual space is everywhere. For us, it is this. So you need to reinvent your dance, your choreography. You need to revisit it. How do you handle the space you have now? So what is life? It is your space. And you learn to rehandle it. You learn to rehandle your dance, and you bring your other skills and strengths. One very important skill every dancer can and should, if they have a knack for it, develop is writing skills. I spoke about other skills, including special needs, but writing skills. We have so the number of critics are so few, and good writers on dance can be counted in one hand. So that being it, if the writing skills could be developed, and if you have discernment and you are unbiased, the sky is the limit. So you harness all those skills, and very often you find dancers, and not just dancers but also teachers, and they teach but through teaching, if you look at teaching not just as something that puts bread and butter on the table, but and if you you enrich yourself so much, what you realize, I have come to learn so much through the teaching that the four dancers, same thing doesn't suit four of them, not only physically, but I'm talking about the internal person. So you learn, and your own dance improves with that. So teaching is another skill I think everyone should develop, not as a commercial gain, but first to supplement and also as a complementary skill.
Thank you so much, Chitra ji. And because you mentioned SPIC MACAY, and that's the platform that that is connected, the East, West, North, South, and in fact globally. So could you share some of your memories with SPIC MACAY, how you got into this, how you got involved, and how this journey has been with you?
It's wonderful memories. And I was just thinking the other day, it was 1985, and the Festival of India was starting in the USA. And I had to go to Malaysia and Singapore on a trip just before that. And Sharda Ramanathan, who was instrumental in the now Chennai, then Madras chapter of SPIC MACAY being born, she meets me at some function in Music Academy, and she says, "We want you to do something for SPIC MACAY." And then I say, "But Sharda, I have so much to do before I go abroad. I don't think I'll have the time. You to be part of this initial presentation." So, one thing I must say, the SPIC MACAY volunteers, your heart goes out to them. They're so passionate. And so I said, "Okay, I will do this for you." And I think that hooked me on to SPIC MACAY. You see, being able to address youngsters who are the future of our country. They are the future. People from my generation we can guide, but then the youngsters are the future. And it began with that. And I have toured so many states in this in this country with SPIC MACAY. I have had experiences of performing in the belt, Amba, in, I think it's Madhya Pradesh, where Valmiki was there, the great sage. And I remember once I was doing a lecture demonstration in a school which is totally Hindi speaking. Those days there weren't many Bharatanatyam dancers who spoke Hindi and Bengali fluently. Nowadays, yes, so many of you all. But because I grew up in Kolkata, I was fluent in both languages. I used to be sent to such bells. And I remember, chatting with these children, an interactive session, and I'm saying, Takita is 3 beats. So, So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then ta, ke, ta, and all of them getting involved in the panchajatis, panchanade, and I was having a ball because I'd go to guesswork and do different movements and say, now you tell me. And it sort of taught me how to handle children. And then I saw outside on the wall of the school guys sitting in dhoti and handlebar mustache and sitting and watching. So I said, "Ye log kaun hai?" And then I was told they were Phulan Devi's gang. And at that time, Phulan Devi, the lady dacoit, was, wrecking havoc everywhere. Similarly, I remember in Ranchi, Patna, in that section, traveling in trekkers with my musicians. We used to travel all over in trekkers. We didn't travel AC and fly. We traveled second class. We traveled by road. We traveled in jeeps. We traveled in trekkers. But we never felt that it was a strain, because at the end of it, when you address the youngsters, it was something very, very fulfilling. So we used to travel in trekker from place to place. And even today, when I perform somewhere, even abroad, I remember when I performed for SPIC MACAY abroad, some youngster coming and telling me, "Ma'am, I was there at your lecture demonstration at PSBB. That is what made me so passionate about Bharatanatyam." So, that is much more than an award that you can get, because there is one person whom you have inspired. And there have been so many youngsters, and at those days, SPIC MACAY found it very difficult with budgeting. Still finds it very difficult. I know, because costs go up, but sponsorships never do. But they used to beg people for guest houses, rest houses. We used to stay. Our generation, we really enjoyed it. And I think there was another place I was sent to. I remember Punjab, when there was so much problem there, doing like Dems in Punjab. But traveled to almost all states, and the experiences I learned a lot from it. I enjoyed, and I always used to look forward to a SPIC MACAY tour. The questions, I enjoy youngsters asking me questions. In fact, I tell my students, if you won't ask questions, please don't come to class, because I think I get invigorated when that gush of youth comes across to me in the form of a question.
Even trying to kind of discipline us as well, when it comes to us interacting with gurus such as yourself. So he would always tell us, he says, these artists, these gurus have led a journey with SPIC MACAY, they have contributed so immensely. So once we say that you contributed to SPIC MACAY, so indirectly that's the kind of the service that probably you have given to the society, because when we are trying to train youth, when we are trying to inspire them and motivating them, it's something that we are doing for our society at large, So I think we are in reverence to you and to each one who contributed.
I lost you. No sound.
Just to add to what Sapnaji said, it is because of artists like you who have been so cooperative in taking through all the inconveniences and hardships as we travel to nooks and corners of the country, just to make that small difference to a child who has never been exposed to art, maybe. So it's really an inspiring feeling for us to work when we see even artists cooperating so much and even wanting to share their art. So going forward,
but it takes two hands to clap. So SPIC MACAY brought it out of us, and we met halfway, and it has been a wonderful experience.
As we are coming towards the end of the discussion, we have actually a lot of students, dancers, artists, teachers, parents who are watching us today. I would like to know, what are your thoughts for those who want to pursue dance as a career? When is the right time they should consider it? And also, you little bit elaborated on artists requiring support from community, from friends. Can you talk a little more about what sort of support system it's required to nurture such students?
I think it's also very important that we have government and corporate support, because the sports receive a lot of support, whereas the arts do not. And this is not just the fate of art in India, it is the fate everywhere. Once grants get chopped, it's always the grants to the arts and that get thrown out first. Everything else is considered of more importance. But what people don't realize is, the sort of joy that you get from dance is something which will help you throughout your lives, whether you're a professional dancer or not. Why, in these days of the pandemic, it is you dance and you forget, for that at least point of that stretch of time, you forget about the pandemic and your fear vanishes. So when this is something, I think whether a child takes this up as a profession or not, forget profession, quote unquote, is one stage, seriously is another stage. I think it is very necessary for this to be encouraged, because it gives you a better quality of life finally. What can, if something can remove fear, then isn't it like a prayer? If it can remove fear, it negates fear. So it brings joy, which is again a great positivity. Negativity goes, positivity comes. So I think our arts, the dance, the music, the crafts, the painting, sculpture, everything does that. So I think they should be basically encouraged at home. And as I said, society, friends, the community, but definitely I think the government and the corporates should take cognizance of the fact that we talk about the responsibility of corporates. Why they should also include these music, arts. Similarly, the government must institute more grants, more scholarships, more fellowships. There are very few when you look at the volume of art and the plastic arts. Because if there is a support, now for instance, we now have the Tagore Fellowship and the Tagore Scholarship. Now this, for a person who's seriously into art, this is a means of sustenance. It helps you without having to bother where the next meal comes from. Let's accept it. Dal chawal nahi hai, to what are we talking about art? So the government can come a long way in doing a lot for us, taking us a little bit more seriously. Because there are other countries where, well, if you don't have performance, anybody for that matter gets a subsidy, and artists too. So they don't have to spend their time worrying about the nitty-gritties of practical life, but they can devote themselves in pursuance of dance or music.
Yes, I think it takes so much of a community's involvement to bring up an artist.
Yes. And the CSR should definitely include us, the corporates, and take us a little bit more seriously, because people sometimes think, oh, dance is entertainment, music is entertainment. It is not. It is something that gives you strength, something that gives you ability, that something that makes you sharp, something that makes you physically fit, something that makes you keep your chin up, come whatever may in life. So I think it's important.
Yeah. Chitraji, I think you've rightly said that if our rich cultural heritage, it has to be preserved, we all have to take joint responsibility. And SPIC MACAY is able to do that and do its bit just because there are so many like you who are able to give their valuable time and support us in whatever way possible. So I think we've nearly come to the end of this
Yes.
discussion. And I really wish, we could just go on, but the time is a limiting factor. So I thank you all, Chitraji. My heartiest thanks to you, and I also take this opportunity to invite you to JMK. Please do, please do come for your concert here. I would just love to host you, and my thanks to Damini, Apurva, and Dakshini, and everyone else who joined us, during this session. Chitraji, thank you so much for giving us your valuable morning time. It's, as I said, in the beginning, it's been a meditative experience for me, honestly.
Thank you so much. I so enjoyed interacting with you all, and
Yeah,
sometime later in the future again. Namaskar.
sure. Namaskar. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you all for joining us. Yeah. Namaste.
life of SPIC MACAY Anubhav series. After the wonderful interaction session with Chitra Visweswaran ji, we will now continue with our Bharatanatyam dance workshop. I'm sure we are very lucky to experience all different kinds of flavors of culture during this pandemic too. I again welcome our Guru Apurva ji and her student Bhargavi. To all the students, mark your attendances via feedback forms on your dashboards. And if you have any questions for our Guru, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much once again, Alankita. Good morning. Namaskar to everyone joining us this morning. I'm sure once again you've had a great start to your day with listening to a living legend of our time, Shri Chitra Visweswaran, speak to all of us and share so many beautiful things, in such a simple manner, especially the importance that she stressed about dance being an interdisciplinary field, right? And that's something as students of dance, all of us need to really take away and pay attention to, is that it's not just about walking in and out of your dance class for 3 hours in itself. If only we allowed ourselves to really gain that immersive education. And like she said, ultimately can be no replacement to that relationship that you have with a teacher, with fellow dancers, with every avenue in life that gives you the opportunity to learn something. So wonderful, inspiring start to the day. So I hope all of you are now ready for us to get up and dance a little bit. All of us to come back to recap and be on the same page. Okay. So Alankita has brought up the presentation on our screen. So I'd like all of you to pay attention to which was the Griva Vedha. Right? After finishing the Pada Vedha, the variations of the feet, the Drishti Vedha, variations of the eyes, we went on yesterday to the variations of the neck, which are only 4 in number, but they're very beautiful and something that we employ very commonly to embellish and beautify our movements, right? So I want to remind you, like I said yesterday, there are 2 aspects in which you can learn these Vedhas. One is the shlokam, which is written in Sanskrit as an entire sentence. The other is the name of the particular movement itself. And I've highlighted the name of the particular movements. You can see that in highlight. So the movements are Sundari, which is the right to left movement of the neck. Tiraschina, Prakampita, which is a forward and a back. Part of the entire shlokam, which says this and this and this. These 4 variations are the talk about it. As we're always told, go back, write down your whatever you have learned. As we're always told, go back, write down your whatever you have learned in class, etc. Right? But how do we write drawing these little stick figures? Right? You can draw little diagrams to indicate whether your hand is here, or is it in Alapadma, or is your leg outside in Nate, important thing. And it takes time